Fellas, let's be real. One of the most frustrating moments you'll ever face in dating is when a woman you're interested in starts ignoring you. The texts slow down, the replies get colder, or worse, they don't come at all. And what do most guys do in this situation? They panic. They start sending more messages, trying harder, begging for her attention, and every extra effort they put in only pushes her further away. If this has ever happened to you, understand this. When a woman ignores you, the last thing you should do is chase. Instead, you need to flip the entire script on her using reverse psychology. You see, ignoring you is a power move. Whether she's testing you, losing interest, or simply distracted, her silence is a way of seeing what you'll do next. Most men fail this test because they allow emotion to take over. They become needy, desperate, or angry. That's exactly what you cannot afford to do. If you want her attention, if you want her respect, the only winning strategy is to stay calm, composed, and unpredictable. The less you react, the more powerful you become. Think about it. When you stop feeding energy into her silence, you create a vacuum. She expects you to chase, but when you don't, that expectation flips into curiosity, then doubt, then regret. That's the psychology behind this. The moment you act unaffected, she starts to wonder why her absence isn't shaking you. And the truth is, this shift does more than just get her attention. It restores your power. Because the man who can stay grounded when a woman ignores him is the man she never truly forgets. So in this video, I'll break down exactly what to do, step by step, to handle her silence with strength, confidence, and control. 1. Stay silent. When a woman ignores you, silence is not weakness. It's your weapon. Most men don't realize this, but the very moment she stops responding, she's waiting to see what you'll do next. Will you panic? Will you blow up her phone? Will you beg for her attention? 9 out of 10 guys will. And that's exactly why silence is so powerful, because it separates you from the crowd of men who crumble at the first sign of rejection. Silence creates space, and space creates curiosity. A woman's mind doesn't like unfinished business. There's a psychological effect known as the Zeigarnik effect. It tells us that people remember incomplete situations more than the ones with closure. When she ignores you and you refuse to chase, you've just left the story unfinished. You didn't close the loop. You didn't give her the reaction she expected. And now that silence becomes louder than words. She starts asking herself, did he notice I stopped replying? Does he care? Is he talking to someone else? That loop spins in her head because you didn't feed her the attention she thought she controlled. Now here's where most men get it wrong. They think silence means blocking her, posting quotes, or acting like they don't care with fake moves. That's not silence. That's still attention. Real silence is pulling away without announcement, without drama, without explanation. You don't delete her. You don't send long texts about how she hurt you. You just let the conversation die naturally, and you move forward with your life as if nothing happened. That kind of silence cuts deeper because it forces her to feel your absence. You're not making noise, yet she feels it anyway. This is where the power dynamic starts to shift. You see, women expect men to fill the silence. They expect you to chase because that's the script most men follow. But when you don't, when you let silence breathe, you've just shown her that you're not like the rest. You've communicated strength without saying a single word. And trust me, that message lands harder than any speech you could ever give. Picture this. She's sitting at home scrolling through her phone. She left you on read 2 days ago, confident you'd be double texting by now. But instead, there's nothing. No notifications, no energy, no effort from you. That's when it hits her. The silence is not just quiet, it's unsettling. It makes her wonder where you are, what you're doing, and most importantly, why you're not chasing. That's curiosity, that's re-engagement, that's power. Now let me give you a warning. Silence only works if you stick to it. The second you break, the second you cave in and send that, hey, just checking in message, the silence is broken and your power evaporates. She'll know you couldn't handle the pressure. She'll know you cracked. And once she knows that, the curiosity dies and you're right back in her control. So if you're going to use silence, commit to it. Don't fold. Don't play halfway. Stay quiet long enough for her to feel the weight of your absence. Here's the truth. Women remember the men who disappear with dignity. They remember the ones who don't explain, who don't beg, who don't fight for scraps of attention. And that's why silence is the first tactic you need when she ignores you. It's not passive, it's active, it's deliberate, It's a statement that says, I don't need to prove myself to you. My value doesn't rise or fall based on your reply. That kind of energy is rare, and it leaves an impact that no amount of chasing ever could. So the next time she ignores you, don't type out that long message. Don't call. Don't demand answers. Just stay silent. Let her wonder. Let her feel it. Because the more she has to sit with that silence, the louder your presence becomes. 2. Trigger her doubt. When a woman ignores you, she expects you to respond with energy. She expects you to chase, question, and try harder. That's the natural rhythm she's used to with men. The moment you don't do that, the moment you go silent and carry on like nothing happened, something flips in her mind. What flips? Doubt. She begins to doubt the decision to pull away. She starts questioning herself instead of you. Let's break it down. When she pulls back, she usually does it from a place of confidence. She thinks you'll still be there, hanging on, orbiting, proving yourself. But when you let her go without resistance, she doesn't feel that sense of control anymore. Instead of power, she feels uncertainty. And uncertainty is where doubt is born. She begins to replay the situation. Why didn't he chase me? Why isn't he checking in? Was I not that important? Did I overplay my hand? These questions creep in, and that creeping thought is what makes her uneasy. Most men kill this effect by jumping in too soon. They don't give her the chance to feel doubt. They panic. They explain themselves. They try to fix things before she's even had time to miss them. That's why you must resist. The longer you let her sit in her own silence, the stronger the doubt grows. She'll think she made the right move at first, but as time passes, the silence turns her confidence into regret. The same quiet that you created now becomes the mirror she can't avoid. It reflects back the reality of what she lost. The presence, the attention, the care, the masculine energy that only you provided. Here's the thing, doubt is not just about missing you. It's about questioning her own judgment. If she truly believed you were disposable, she wouldn't feel anything. But the fact that she starts wondering, second-guessing, even stalking your social media from the shadows, that's proof the silence is working, and that's why you don't interfere. Every move you make to check in resets her doubt and reassures her decision. But when you let her stew in it, when you let her sit with the discomfort of possibly losing you, she's the one chasing clarity, not you. Now let me give you an example. A woman ignores your messages. You do nothing. A week later, she's scrolling late at night, thinking about you. She notices you haven't reached out, but maybe she sees you posted a picture with friends at the gym or just living your life. That's when the wave of doubt hits. She thought you'd crumble without her attention, but here you are, unbothered. That contrast is painful to her ego because the narrative in her head doesn't match reality. And when reality shakes her expectations, the chase begins. Remember, doubt is the seed of regret. And regret is the emotion that pulls her back in. But if you want that to happen, you must let her feel the gap you created. Don't explain. Don't soften the silence. Don't make it easy for her. Your job is not to comfort her ego. It's to hold your ground and let her confront the discomfort of losing you. Men who master this never need to beg. They never need to explain. They let the woman's own thoughts do the work for them. And trust me, a woman's imagination is far more powerful than anything you could ever say. So when she ignores you, your tactic is simple. Plant doubt by refusing to react. That's how you flip the dynamic without lifting a finger. Third, regain your power. Every time a woman ignores you and you react with panic, chasing, or over-explaining, you hand her control. You make her the center of the dynamic while you orbit around her. That's why so many men feel powerless in these situations. They've unknowingly given their energy away. But when you stop chasing, when you refuse to explain yourself, when you step back instead of leaning in, something powerful happens. You reclaim your position. You regain your power without saying a single word. Let me be clear. Power in relationships is not about manipulation. It's not about raising your voice, making demands, or trying to dominate her with words. True power is quiet. It's in your ability to walk away with dignity. It's in your ability to show restraint. And it's in your refusal to give your energy to someone who isn't giving the same in return. When you do that, you're not punishing her. You're recentering yourself. You're sending the message that your value does not depend on her attention. Most men don't understand how attractive this is. A man who can hold his ground when a woman pulls back is rare. Think about it. Most guys will double text, call, ask, did I do something wrong? They'll beg for clarity. And women are used to that. But the man who doesn't do that, the man who simply steps back, communicates something different. He communicates strength. He communicates confidence. He communicates that he has options, a life, and standards. That's what makes her sit up and notice. Here's the thing. You don't need to announce your power. You don't need to prove it with speeches or ultimatums. The absence of your energy says more than words ever could. When she feels your silence, when she notices your calm refusal to react, she feels the weight of it. And that weight shifts the balance back in your favor. You've gone from chasing to being chased, and you didn't have to lift a finger. Picture this. She ignores your message. You don't react. Days pass, maybe a week, and still you don't break. She expected resistance, but instead, she's met with indifference. That's when your power sinks in. She realizes you're not like the others. You're not desperate for her attention. You're not going to dance for her approval. That realization puts her in a position she didn't anticipate. Now, she has to question whether she lost something valuable. And the truth is, that thought alone gives you the upper hand. Now, here's where men often sabotage themselves. They regain some ground with silence, but then they crack. They text her to just check in. They reply to her breadcrumb messages too quickly. They throw away their advantage. Don't make that mistake. If you've created the power shift, hold it. Let her come to you. Let her work for your energy. Because once you give your power back, it's very hard to get it again. So remember this. The strongest move you can make when she ignores you is not to argue, not to beg, not to explain. It's to step back and regain your power. Because the man who doesn't need her approval is the man who earns her respect. And in the dating world, respect is the real currency. You want her to see you as valuable? Stop giving away your power and let her feel the silence of a man who knows his worth. 4. Shock her expectations. One of the most underestimated parts of reverse psychology is the element of surprise. When a woman ignores you, she thinks she knows exactly how you'll respond. She expects the typical reaction: chasing, pleading, apologizing, or maybe even lashing out. That's the script she has in her mind, and she's confident you'll play your part. But when you don't, when you break the pattern she thought you would follow, you throw her off balance. You shock her expectations. And that shock is what makes her reevaluate everything she thought she knew about you. Let's be honest. Women test men all the time. Sometimes it's intentional, sometimes it's subconscious, but it happens. They ignore texts, delay responses, get cold, or pull back their energy just to see how you'll handle it. Will you stay centered, or will you crumble? Most guys crumble. That's why when you stand still instead of moving toward her, the effect is powerful. You've just separated yourself from the pack of men who would have done exactly what she predicted. Think about how strong this contrast really is. She ignores your message, maybe expecting a double text, a phone call, or some emotional reaction. But hours pass, then days, and instead of chasing, you carry on with your life. You post a picture at the gym, hang out with your friends, maybe share something about your work or passion. You're clearly moving forward with energy, but none of it is directed at her. That's when she feels the gap. Her entire expectation of how you'd behave collapses. Instead of being reassured that you'll always chase, she's forced to wonder, did I misread him? Is he not that interested? Did I just lose a man who was actually different? This shock is essential because it changes the narrative in her mind. In the beginning, she might have thought you were fully invested. She thought she could take her time, pull back, and you'd still be waiting. But your silence sends a completely different message. It says, I'm not afraid to let you go. That message is rare, and it hits hard because most women assume they have more control than they actually do. By not playing the game, you remind her that the game doesn't even work on you. Let me paint a picture. A woman pulls away. She gets cold, delays her replies, ignores your energy. She expects you to react. Instead, you don't. You stay focused, calm, grounded. A week later, she's checking your profile, wondering why you never reached out. She sees you smiling, living, doing your thing. That's when doubt mixes with surprise, and suddenly she's the one craving your attention again. Not because you begged for it, but because you disrupted the script. You showed her a version of masculinity she didn't expect, a man who can walk away without fear. The element of shock works because it creates curiosity. Humans are drawn to what they can't predict. When you're predictable, attraction fades. When you're unpredictable in a way that demonstrates strength, attraction grows. And in this case, unpredictability doesn't mean sending mixed signals or playing childish games. It simply means refusing to act like the man she assumed you'd be. That refusal alone is shocking enough to flip the dynamic. Now here's where you need to be careful. Shocking her expectations only works if it's genuine. If you're pretending to be calm while secretly obsessing, she'll sense it. If you act silent, but then slip in a breadcrumb response just to test her reaction, she'll feel that too. The shock only lands if your energy is real. You have to truly detach from the need for her attention. That's what makes the silence believable. That's what makes the shift authentic. And authenticity is what creates the deepest impact. Understand this. Shocking her expectations isn't about revenge or trying to make her jealous. It's about standing firm in your value. It's about showing her, without a single word, that your world doesn't collapse because she pulled back. That message alone forces her to reframe you in her mind. Suddenly, you're not another guy waiting for scraps of her time. You're the man. 5. Create emotional contrast. One of the strongest forces that pulls a woman back after she ignores you isn't logic, it's emotion. When you give her space and pull away, you create a sharp contrast between what life felt like with your presence and what life feels like without it. That emotional difference is what keeps echoing in her mind long after you've gone quiet. And it's not something she can easily shake because feelings are more powerful than words. Let's dig into this. When you were present in her life, you provided a certain energy. Maybe you made her laugh, maybe you challenged her thinking, maybe you gave her a sense of security or excitement that only came from you. That was the emotional high she experienced being around you. But the moment she chose to ignore you, that energy vanished. And now she's left with silence, with ordinary conversations from other men, with interactions that don't measure up. That gap is the emotional contrast. She thought walking away would feel freeing, but instead it feels empty. Here's the reality. Most women don't expect to miss you right away. At first, the silence feels like a break. It feels like space, maybe even relief. But as the days pass, she starts comparing. The new guy she's talking to might be consistent, but he doesn't spark her curiosity. The attention from social media feels good for a while, but it's shallow. None of it feels like the presence you brought to the table, and that's when the contrast kicks in. She remembers the little things, not because she's in love with the memory, but because her current reality feels weaker by comparison. This is why your silence is so powerful. You're not forcing her to miss you. You're not telling her she made a mistake. You're simply letting the absence of your presence speak louder than words. Humans naturally crave what once gave them the strongest emotional impact. And if you were ever that man for her, she will feel the loss over time. That's why women come back with lines like, "Hey, remember when we," or "I was just thinking about you." They're not reaching out for closure. They're chasing a feeling they can't seem to replace. The mistake men make here is trying to speed up the process. They think they can talk her into feeling something again. But feelings don't work that way. You can't reason a woman back into attraction. You can't argue her into respect. She has to feel the void. She has to experience the emotional downgrade of life without you. And that only happens when you stay disciplined and let the contrast build naturally. The longer she sits with it, the stronger it becomes. Now let me give you a simple example. Say you were always the guy who made her laugh until her stomach hurt. That was part of your energy. After she ignores you and pulls back, she might still laugh with her friends or other men, but it doesn't hit the same way. Late at night, when she's scrolling through her phone, she'll remember how different it felt around you. That memory will creep back because nothing in her present matches the emotional impact of her past with you. That's the contrast doing its job. And it only works if you don't ruin it by chasing her for validation. So understand this. When a woman ignores you, don't get emotional, don't beg, and don't force your way back into her space. Step back and allow the silence to highlight the contrast. Let her see the downgrade on her own, because the more she feels that gap, the more she'll remember the difference you made, and that memory of emotional impact will pull her back stronger than anything you could ever say. 6th, shift your focus. This is one of the most powerful tactics you can use when a woman ignores you. The instinct most men fall into is putting all of their attention back on her, wondering why she pulled away, stressing over her silence, replaying conversations in their head. That's wasted energy. What you need to do instead is take that attention and invest it into yourself, your goals, and your life. Because when she ignores you, the strongest response isn't chasing her, it's becoming even harder to ignore. Here's the truth. Women notice when your world revolves around them. They can feel it. They know when you're sitting around waiting for their text or building your mood around their approval. That energy screams neediness. But when you redirect your energy back into your own life, something powerful happens. You create a shift. She expected you to spiral into chasing her, but instead she sees a man who is busy, motivated, and unfazed. That's magnetic. Now let's break down what shifting your focus really looks like. First, it means leveling up your personal life. Hit the gym harder, build your body, sharpen your style. Second, it means locking in on your purpose, whether that's your career, your business, or a skill you've been building. Third, it means expanding your options socially. Spend time with friends, network, connect with new people, and make your presence felt beyond her. The goal isn't to pretend you're busy. It's to actually become so valuable and engaged with life that chasing her becomes the last thing on your mind. Here's the psychology behind it. When she sees you investing in yourself, she realizes she's not the center of your world. That immediately triggers two things in her mind: curiosity and competitiveness. Curiosity because she wants to know what's capturing your attention if it's not her. Competitiveness, because women don't like to feel replaced or irrelevant. The moment she notices your energy is being invested elsewhere, that's the moment she begins to question if ignoring you was the right move. But here's the key. You can't fake this. You can't just post a few gym selfies or pretend you're grinding when you're really just waiting for her to call. She'll see through that. The shift has to be real. It's about actually becoming a better man while she's out of the picture. That way, whether she comes back or not, you're in a stronger position than before. And if she does come back, she's walking back into the life of a man who has leveled up without her. Think of it like this. If she's ignoring you, she's essentially betting that you'll fall apart without her. She's testing whether her absence will break you. By shifting your focus and growing stronger, you prove the opposite. You show her that her silence only fueled your growth, and nothing makes a woman rethink her decision faster than realizing the man she ignored is becoming more attractive, more focused, and more out of reach by the day. So if you want to win this game, stop pouring your energy into her silence. Stop trying to decode her every move. Take that same energy and reinvest it into yourself. Because here's the truth. Your best response to being ignored isn't reaction, it's transformation. Let her wonder where your attention went. Let her see the results of your growth. That shift is what pulls her back in, not words, not arguments, progress. 7. Stay unpredictable. If there's one thing that kills attraction faster than anything else, it's predictability. When a woman ignores you, she expects a certain script. She expects you to panic, double text, blow up her phone, or start begging for answers. And when you don't give her that reaction, you already throw her off balance. But the next step is to keep her guessing, because when you're unpredictable, you take away her sense of control. That's when the power shifts back into your hands. Let's be clear. Unpredictable doesn't mean playing childish games or acting toxic. It means breaking the pattern she expects. If she thinks you'll fold, surprise her by staying calm. If she thinks you'll chase, surprise her by pulling back. If she thinks you'll sit around waiting, surprise her by moving forward and filling your time with things that excite you. Every time you break the script in her head, you force her to reevaluate the way she sees you. And that's where her curiosity spikes. For example, imagine she ignores your messages for days, expecting you to eventually crack and send a long emotional text. Instead, you go silent, focus on yourself, and later post a picture living your life fully. No bitterness, no anger, just confidence. That's unpredictable. She expected weakness, but what she saw was strength. Another example, maybe she pops back up with a casual, "Hey," after weeks of silence. Most men would instantly jump back in, eager for her attention. You, on the other hand, take your time. You don't rush to respond. You let her sit in that uncertainty. That unpredictability makes her think twice, because suddenly she doesn't know where she stands with you anymore. Here's the psychology. Women are naturally drawn to mystery. When they can predict every move you'll make, the excitement fades. But when your behavior is calm, steady, yet slightly unpredictable, they stay hooked. They want to know what you'll do next. They wonder if they've lost you. They question if ignoring you was the wrong choice. And those questions create the tension that reignites their interest. The key here is balance. You don't want to swing so far into unpredictability that you look unstable or fake. It's not about being dramatic. It's about staying composed and refusing to give her the reactions she expects. Think of it like chess. She makes a move by ignoring you, waiting to see your reaction. Most men play checkers, reacting immediately with the obvious move. But you're playing chess. You stay a step ahead. You make moves she doesn't anticipate. And that unpredictability keeps her on edge. Now here's the part most men miss. Staying unpredictable isn't just about her. It's about you. It's about living a life so full, so dynamic, that even you aren't glued to one routine. One week you're working hard on your goals, the next you're traveling, learning something new, connecting with new people. You're building a life where no one can put you in a box. That energy is magnetic, because women don't just chase men who are confident, they chase men who are exciting, men who they can't fully figure out. So when she ignores you, don't panic, don't beg, and don't try to force your way back into her attention. Instead, break the script, stay unpredictable. Keep her guessing about what you'll do next, because the moment she realizes she can't predict or control you, that's the moment she starts chasing again. And that's the ultimate win. You become the man she can't easily read, can't easily shake, and definitely can't easily replace. All right, fellas, let's wrap this up. If a woman is ignoring you, the worst mistake you can make is chasing after her like she's the only source of validation in your life. That kind of reaction only proves her point, that you need her more than she needs you. But what we've laid out here is the exact opposite approach. You take her silence, flip it, and use reverse psychology to put the power back in your hands. That's what separates a man who's easily forgotten from a man who can't be ignored. Think about the steps we've walked through. First, you don't rush to respond. You stay silent, because silence is strength. Then you protect your pride by refusing to beg or plead. You set boundaries. You build contrast. You shift your focus back to your own life, and you let your actions, not your emotions, do the talking. Every one of those steps is designed to remind her that you're not just another guy who folds under pressure. You're the kind of man who can walk away if he's not respected. And that kind of man always commands attention. Here's the deeper truth. When you act this way, you're not just handling her silence, you're training yourself for every relationship you'll ever have. You're building the discipline to stay calm under pressure. You're building the confidence to stand tall even when things don't go your way. And you're building the awareness that no woman, no matter how attractive, should have the power to make or break your value as a man. That value comes from you and how you carry yourself. So the next time a woman ignores you, don't waste time overthinking or chasing. Step back, shift your focus, and let her wonder why you're not reacting the way she expected. Let her sit in that uncertainty. Let her feel the emotional contrast. Let her question whether she made the right move by pulling away, because when you handle it this way, one of two things will happen. Either she comes back, realizing she underestimated your value, or she doesn't, and you've still won because you kept your self-respect and leveled up in the process. At the end of the day, remember this: women test men, but real men don't flinch. Real men don't beg. Real men don't let silence break them. They turn it into fuel. And when you do that, you become the kind of man who doesn't just attract women, you attract respect, admiration, and opportunities everywhere you go.